the meeting to order. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bitter.
Here.
Mr. Comerford.
Here.
Dr. Steger.
Here.
Mrs. Wise.
Here.
Mr. Ballant.
Here. Need a motion to go into executive session for RC 121.22G1 to consider the employment or discipline of a public employee. ORC 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes. And to enter into executive session to prepare for, conduct or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning a compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Logan.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Motion passes. We will go into executive session and we will start the public portion of our meeting as soon as executive session is over. Probably about 20 minutes.
Ooh, do it.
Good evening. The board started our meeting at 6 o'clock and went into executive session. We're now coming out of executive session for the public portion of our meeting. We will start the meeting with our mission and vision like we always do. And our mission is to create a culture of academic excellence through inclusive and innovative learning opportunities for the whole child. Our vision is to empower all learners to reach their full potential in a globally competitive world. I ask that you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Logan.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye, the agenda is approved. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes from the December 6th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments, corrections? Mrs. Logan.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
And Mr. Ballant.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Any public participation? Move on to the superintendent's agenda. Mr. Lewis is not here due to a personal illness. So filling in for him is our wonderful assistant superintendent, Mrs. Wagner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ballant, everyone. So the first item on the superintendent's agenda, we're very excited about. This is a proposal that comes from a group of high school teachers who are really looking, teachers and counselors, who are looking for ways to provide more opportunities for our students. So it's approval of some college credit plus courses. They brought this proposal to the administration, so it truly is a boots on the ground type of initiative. So Becky's going to share just the basics of what College Credit Plus is, kind of CCP 101, if you will. And then we've got some teachers that have joined us tonight, so you can hear directly from them since they're the ones that have really put all the work in for this proposal.
Good evening. I'm very excited to share some information about CCP and then allow our extraordinary high school teachers and counselors to share some more specific information. So College Credit Plus is a dual enrollment program that allows students in 7th through 12th grade to simultaneously earn both high school credit and college credit from universities. So students must meet a university or college's application requirements and be accepted into the schools. The students will earn a weighted grade for participation in CCP. The district pays for the course and for the textbooks, and students taking CCP courses may do so on campus, so on the university campus, online, or within the Sycamore High School campus. So the courses presented this evening provide our Sycamore High School students opportunities to earn dual credit, both high school credit and college credit on campus at Sycamore High School. They get to stay with our extraordinary teachers, participate in the culture and the activities of Sycamore High School, and earn college credit that they can use to accelerate their time within the university. So these courses that are being presented for approval this evening have gone through Sycamore's building leadership team twice and also presented to our district's curriculum steering committee. So the curriculum steering committee is a group of teachers and administrators representing grade levels and courses. And they are a group that before proposals are brought to the board around curriculum materials and resources, they hear the proposals and provide feedback. We had this meeting earlier in December, and it is the shortest curriculum steering committee meeting that I have ever attended. There was basically one question, and it was getting some clarification, and then the group was all in support of the CCP courses. It was just extraordinary. So I'd like to give our high school teachers and counselors an opportunity to share some information. The teachers on the call this evening are Carrie Karate, Megan Brenner, Bonnie Stevenson, Peter Griega, Leah Chapman, and Trisha Underwood. And we have some teachers who have been working on the team who couldn't attend this evening, and those are Greg Hewlin, John Wampum, and Sophia Feist. So I'm going to turn it over to our high school.
Hello, thank you everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Really appreciate the opportunity and really glad to be here. Thank you guys. Carrie, if you don't mind just jumping in, sharing your thoughts, I think that'd be appropriate. So go for it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie Karate. I teach English at the high school. Currently, I teach 9th grade and 11th grade, but I've actually taught everything, including both of our electives in the English department at this point. So really, when I think about CCP, and it's been something we've been looking at for the last 2 years, there's kind of a couple of main points. I think the first one, when I think about it, is that it's something that's really already happening a lot. And so when I see students, and I ran into some kids today that were back for the holiday luncheon, and several of them took CCP classes online when they were at Sycamore. So it's this process that a lot of kids are already going through, and is really helpful for them when they get to college. They're able to graduate, sometimes a year ahead of time or with a master's degree. But the second point of that, has kind of always been an issue for me, is that I do think one of the strengths of our building specifically is just how well we get to know our students and the support we can give them, whether that's in the classroom, with social issues, with the things that come up in a high school kid's life. And we have a lot of students that I think really benefit from that in our classes. Some kids probably don't need it, but I think they all benefit from it. And so that idea of if we can give them the support in class on campus while also having access to college level courses and to, acquiring those credits ahead of time, I think that makes a lot of sense. The third point, as we started to look at it, and we went to the dual enrollment conference in Columbus this past fall. And one of the points I didn't really realize is how much cheaper it is. So one, just for the kids, it saves them a ton of money. A kid I ran into actually at Ohio State, and I forget his name. He knew me and I don't know him. That's always awkward. But he is graduating in 4 years with his master's degree in some kind of engineering. And so it's and listening to him talk about that, and it saved that kid, $30,000, and for him and his family. So there's that aspect for students. And then something I didn't realize is that we're currently paying for these classes anyway. So the kids that take them online, or the kids that take them at UC, our district pays for those right now, but it's a much higher rate. And I don't have the exact numbers on it. And I think somebody does, or is in a document somewhere, but the number, if it's taught by a high school teacher on campus, is substantially cheaper. So to me, that's an interesting point. Kind of the last one, and one that I think is part of the original intention of CCP, is that the idea is to give access to kids who don't currently have it. And I think if we looked at the kids who currently take our CCP classes, they're kids that are in pretty high level classes across the board. And they have access and they have support at home from people who know about these opportunities and are helping them walk through the process. And so one of the things that we've talked a lot about as we've gone through this process is ways that we could, one, just inform students of this opportunity. And then two, be able to help them through, whether that's the application processes, figuring out, eligibility, and working through, because there's different ways to be eligible. And so thinking through some of those processes. And I think we would have an opportunity to give students a chance to really get some of that coursework before they go to college, or to take some college classes and say, oh, maybe there's an alternative path I should consider at this point. And so I think that's another really big benefit. I think the other kind of the last point is that, obviously there's stuff that we don't know right now. I mean, there are some CCP classes on our campus right now But a lot of schools in the region, in this region of Ohio and across the state, are currently doing this. And so just even reaching out to like a few people that I know through other connections at different districts, I think it's definitely something that like is navigable. People all across the state are navigating it right now. And I know that was one of my concerns, is like, well, how does this look if we do it on our own? And it's not something that like we would be needing to do on our own. So that's all I got, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Carrie. Very exciting.
Yeah. Does anyone else on the team want to say something, or was Carrie our spokesperson? And you did a great job, Carrie.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right.
Me too. I know. I was thinking that
Awesome.
as well.
Thank you. So we felt it was important for you to hear from the teachers, because they were the ones that have been doing all this work, investing time on providing just more opportunities for students. So we just wanted you to hear from them.
So just, is there any like resistance to this by staff or administration, or is this everybody's all in for this?
All the teachers who are going to be teaching these courses are all in.
Great.
And I wasn't in the BLT meetings. I haven't, again, this has been something that the teachers have been really working on themselves. But this group that has been looking at this, they're all in.
Is there an additional, sorry, I was gonna say, is there an additional certification that anybody needs to teach these courses?
No, but that's a great question, Dr. Steger. So these teachers have to be approved by the universities,
Okay.
right? So there is a process. So it's not any teacher at the high school or any level. You have to have a certain qualification. So all the folks that are involved in this already have that vetted piece. So we did all that, they did all that background ahead of time to make sure we know who is eligible to teach the courses, and then matching that with courses that they're actually currently teaching for high school credit, but we're just now being able to give that college credit piece to it as well.
Great.
I love what
Yeah.
you said about, Mr. Crotty, about giving the opportunity to students who maybe otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity. I think that's great.
Mrs. Logan, is this capable with the current staff? Is there any additional funding or additional staff that would be required?
So the way that CCP works is it is a district cost. And I think he did mention if your own teachers teach the courses, it is at a reduced tuition rate.
Is there any additional FTEs that were?
Not that
No.
we're aware of, it's just
No.
utilizing current staff,
Correct.
Yes.
so.
And that's another thing too. We've got kids who are currently leaving our campus to do this. So by bringing them back, not only are we using our own staff, we're not increasing staff, but we're making sure that our kids are with our teachers on our campus. So again, that ensures that security piece from our teaching staff as well.
I think it's great to have, there's advanced placement classes where you can get potentially save money in college and get those tests and do well on them and really save some money. But this is another option for students
Right.
to take classes, college classes, at no cost to the student.
Mhm.
And then I like how having it at the school hopefully help the students realize that it exists. I think a lot of families and a lot of students don't know. So I think this will kind of open up that window of opportunity. So yeah, it sounds excellent. So thank you for sharing this with us.
This group has worked
Yeah,
super
really great,
hard. I mean,
yes.
truly kudos to the entire
It looks like a
team.
great course offering.
Right, and thank you for taking all the steps that went into this to get to this point so we can have it before us. So thank you all.
Good. With that, I need a motion for the approval of the high school college credit plus course.
So moved.
Second,
Additional questions or comments?
Dr. Steger,
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter,
aye.
Mr. Comerford,
Aye.
Mrs. Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Balance.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of the authorization to issue RFQ theater room addition project.
So moved.
Second.
So this is just a follow-up to previous board discussion about the desire to build a scene shop on the back of the high school theater. This is just following statutory requirements to move forward to select a design firm to get us an estimate. That's all this is. This is not committing to the project. It's the step that we need to take to select that design firm.
Any questions? Mr. Logan?
Mrs. Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter,
Aye.
Dr. Steger,
Aye.
Mr. Balance.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of the change order transportation facility project.
So moved.
Second,
Questions? Mrs. Logan?
Mrs. Bitter,
Aye.
Dr. Steger,
aye.
Mr. Comerford,
Aye.
Mrs. Weiss,
Hi,
Mr. Ballant.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of the agreement with SHP.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Logan and I can kind of tag team this one, tackle this one together. So at the previous meeting, we have been working towards getting the signed agreement for the junior high theater. I'll just use instead of renovations, corrections that are needed for the design flaws that are in that project. We are at a point where I actually received the change order today that was signed by the construction company. The only thing remaining is the signature on the agreement. We are there to get that. So what we wanted to do is provide a resolution tonight that gives us the authority the moment that resolution, the moment that agreement is signed by SHP to move forward. And that's what this is, because there was one minor tweak that needed to be made, which is what delayed it. And it was important to us that correction be made, but also what's mostly important in this and why the resolution is in your hands tonight is that we want to mobilize over winter break to begin demolition of the theater, which would include jackhammering, things like that we prefer not to be done, that create noise. It's not a safety issue, but if we can do it over break when nobody's there. So this allows me to tomorrow call Monarch Construction and say, let's get folks out there and start this work over break. All the terms, the change order, everything is all set. There's no risk to the district. The money is there. The money will end up in district hands 30 days after the signing of the agreement.
Correct. And SHP is covering the
100%.
entire cost of this.
When you say demolition, you mean partial demolition? They're not demolishing the whole, just sections.
Correct.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying that because I know that people will say, oh,
Correct.
the sections that we
Thank
now
you.
need to
Yeah.
read.
Demolition of the areas that need modified in
Yes.
order for the sightlines to be improved. Yeah, and there's, just to be clear too, it'll be a construction site, but there'll be no disruption to the school environment. We'll be leveraging upper and back door in and out to do any type of removal of anything that needs to be in there. We've got a great process in place, no cranes, nothing like that. It's all going to be within the environment, the work being done.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions?
I just wanted to thank Mr. Lovell for all his hard work with this project and fixing what needs to be fixed.
We are very excited. It's underway, but thank you, I
And
appreciate
just to
it.
reiterate with what Ms. Logan said, SHP is covering all of the costs to remedy
100%, yes.
as it should be. Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Weiss,
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter,
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Dr. Steger,
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of the CCE contract.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter,
Aye.
Dr. Steger,
Aye.
Mrs. Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of the tuition rate for full day kindergarten.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Logan, this is the same rate as it was last year.
It is the same rate as it was last year. I did review, so the Ohio Department of Education does a survey every year asking districts who charges a tuition rate, if you offer all-day kindergarten, and what that rate is. And it felt appropriate not to recommend an increase this year based on that.
Questions from the board? Mrs. Logan?
Mrs. Weiss,
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of donations.
So moved.
I'd like to thank everybody whose name is on the list for donations. We greatly appreciate that. Quite a few on there. So Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Mrs. Weiss.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Dr. Studer.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Motion passes. I need a motion to authorize the bid restroom additions and the center renovation projects.
So moved.
Second.
This is the next statutory requirement in moving that project forward. It's a planned capital PI project to add restrooms and then to renovate the mini center Mapledale. So this allows us to go out to bid.
As with the other one, this is not binding. This is just going out to bid.
Correct. Yep, we'll come back to you for approval of the contract.
Thank you. Mrs. Logan?
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye. Motion passes.
Yes, we have a brief curriculum work update from Gens.
Mrs. Wagner, we'd like to share that we've had a busy month in December. Our math course of study teams and K4 elementary ELA teams have met to review resources and identify resources to move into a pilot phase for consideration for adoption. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the teachers who have participated on the math course of study team and the K4 ELA material adoption teams. These teachers have participated in professional learning around best practices in instruction and materials and resources, and they've used their expertise to review resources, identify resources to move forward in the pilot, and then to eventually in the spring provide some recommendations to the board for adoptions. Their leadership in determining these high quality instructional materials that meet the needs of our Sycamore students is so appreciated. And I'd like to take just a moment to read their names to recognize them for their contribution. So our math courses study team, Abby Brunker, Tony Shaver, Caitlin Cash, Cheryl Cooks, Lindsay Felt, Ashley Friend, Emma Galen, Sarah Goddard, Kelly Hoffman, Karen Cheney, Pete Tanaka, Smiley, Jeremy Pletz, Sarah Shoebridge, Christine Stanberry, Alicia Reinhardt, Amy Bass, Amy Wiebolt, Liz Gates, Haley Halquist, excuse me, Haley, John Swarmberger, Katrina Smith, Kelly Abbas Lee, Lori Klima, Nick Heckman, and Kelsey Knight. Our ELA K4 team teachers are Debbie Emmerich, Emily Coles, Hannah Holland, Colleen Houston, Kathy Matasha, Carly Lefton, Mel Ostrowski, Liz Osborne, Gina Tierney, Beth Brunk, Jen Phoenix, Rima Shaheen, Julie Rutherford, and Aaron Sanders. I'd also like to recommend commend our extraordinary curriculum department who have collaborated to plan, facilitate, and communicate all about our course of study work, and to each building administrator who has made time during their day to actually attend these meetings and sit with their teachers as we're learning and identifying materials for resources. So many thanks to the teachers, to the community, to the board for their support. This is a very exciting time.
It's just great to hear all the names of the people, the
Yes.
many teachers who helped collaborate on the curriculum.
Yes.
So thank you to all of them and to the administration for all the work so far in the curriculum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just the last thing, on behalf of Chad Luce and the entire administrative team, we just want to wish our district students, staff, community members, families, just great wishes for a holiday season, and we just wish you the best.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lloyd. I need a motion for the approval of the personnel consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Wagner, or sorry, Mrs. Logan.
Am I doing that too?
Yes, I will. Mrs. Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
And Mr. Ballant.
Aye, motion passes. I need a motion for the approval of the treasurer's agenda, November 2023 monthly report.
So moved.
Second.
Really nothing big to report this month as far as the financials, but I did want to mention that we've been talking a lot about valuations and the valuation update, not the update, but the total reval that's happening for Hamilton County this year. We did receive our new values for Sycamore schools, drum roll. We had estimated that our residential property values would increase by 20% when we talked about the 5-year forecast in November. It actually increased by 25%. So it was still right in close to what our estimate was, but 25% in our district for residential values. So I wanted to kind of report that back to you.
And just a reminder, my understanding is that doesn't mean any additional revenues for the school district.
It's a very small increase. It's all very complicated, but we do receive increases on inside millage,
Yes.
which is a very small amount of our total revenue on property taxes, but you are correct.
I just don't want the community to hear 25% more
Yeah.
money is coming to the school district because
Percent
it's-
increase in valuations does not equate to a 25% increase in our revenues. I think when we looked at the 5-year forecast, it was made, I would have to go back and look at the percentage, but it was a very small percentage increase when you're looking at a big increase in valuation. So it's within, very close to what we estimated. So the 5-year forecast, I would say, is still, we're still good on our assumptions. Yes.
And just looking at our expenditures trend, I know I've made this comment before.
Yes.
But we continue to see about 4% increase in expenditures per year, which I believe is really good based on the inflation, based on everything that's going on. That is different than we've seen in the past. We typically had lower expenditure increases. So just want to keep that in everybody's mind that our expenses are going up as well.
Yes.
Any additional comments? Mrs. Logo?
Mrs. Bitter,
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye, motion passes. Moving on to other board business, second.
Oh.
I missed one. Sorry.
Sorry.
For the approval of the resolution requesting authorization to file a modified tax budget for 2024-25 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
So this is an annual request in Hamilton County. They do allow us to do a modified tax budget, which actually takes into account the 5-year forecast. And the district I was in previously, our county did not allow us to do a modified, and it was not all that useful to anyone. So this is something that Hamilton County allows us to do, and I believe that we need to continue to file the modified version that's more useful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Comerford.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye. Motion passes. Now moving on to SAC update.
So the SAC update for this month, we actually had no new presentations either by the district or by our membership. So what we had instead was a ask us questions for Mr. Lewis and myself, which was a lot of fun to see what people wanted to know and suggestions that people had moving forward with the district. One such, was for dress rehearsals, somebody suggested maybe we could invite senior citizens to dress rehearsals for plays, and that way they have an audience and they could, bring the community into the buildings, not in the evening, but during the, day or different days, so it wasn't as crowded. And then there were, questions about how things run in the district, and poor Mr. Lewis had to hear, well, it has to go to him before it comes up to me. So that was the, the gist of explaining the chain of command. And then we got some wonderful updates from the schools, talking about all of their plays and what was going on right before winter break. So it's nice to hear from everybody. And next month, we will have a meeting on January 8th, which is the official first Monday of us being able to be back, because I don't think anybody wants to come in on the 1st. There's your quick update. I expect next month will be a little bit longer.
Thank you, Dr. Steger. As this is the last meeting of the board, and we will go into our organizational meeting on January 10th. I'm appointing myself as president pro tem for our organizational meeting. And then following the board's vote on leadership positions, the new president will take over for the rest of the meeting. Moving on to legislative report.
Yes, my last one. Here we go. All right, General Assembly. General Assembly sent House Bill 68 to Governor DeWine for his action. This bill would prohibit certain procedures to alter a minor's child's sex and would designate this act as the Ohio Saving Adolescents from Experimentation Act. This bill also includes House Bill 6, which would enact the Save the Women's Sports Act to require schools, state institutions of higher education, and private colleges to designate separate single-sex teams and sports for each sex. There is a wide push to have Governor DeWine veto this bill. Senate activity, the Senate unanimously passed Senate Bill 162, which would require public schools to provide certain academic intervention services to each student who demonstrates a limited level in math and/or English language arts. The Senate unanimously passed House Bill 101, which modifies the law regarding village dissolution and makes several education-related budget corrections, some related to preschools, joint vocational schools, clarifying the autism scholarship application, clarifying that the State Board of Education will be responsible for criminal record checks, and clarifying teacher permits are under STRS, not SERS. Senate bill also passed Senate Bill 168 on December 13th. This bill makes several regulatory changes, which would allow school districts to develop and use their own frameworks for teacher evaluation instead of using the framework developed by the State Board of Education. Clarifies that a school district is not required to hold a separate individual public hearing on a proposed school calendar, but that the calendar may be addressed as part of another public hearing or meeting. Modifies license or certificate qualifications for senior or lead professional educators, holders of professional administrator or alternative superintendent licenses, and non-teachers employed as teachers. It eliminates seniority as a preference when making reductions in non-teaching staff positions, and clarifies when non-licensed individuals working in a school must be entered into the system, and clarifies that the provision will be overseen by the State Board of Education. Senate Bill 168 now goes to the House. House activity, House Bill 147 passed. This bill would make changes to teacher licensure revocation, teacher hiring practices, and conduct unbecoming to the teaching profession. The House Primary and Secondary Education Committee met, amended, and passed House Bill 312, which would establish the Regional Partnerships Program. This program would require the Department of Education and Workforce and the Department of Higher Education to create, administer, and oversee the prenatal to 5 early childhood to post-secondary regional partnership program, and to make an appropriation for that. The amendment makes it clear that participation in the program is not mandated. The committee held a second hearing on House Bill 171, which would modify the revised code to include instruction on the migration experiences and contributions of a range of communities in the social studies middle curriculum. The committee held sponsor testimony on House Bill 266, which would require school districts and schools to update emergency management plans to include evacuation procedures for individuals with disabilities. Senate Education Committee held their second hearing on House Bill 8. This bill would enact the Parent Bill of Rights, requiring public schools to adopt a policy on parental notification regarding student health and well-being and instructional materials with sexuality content. There was a tremendous amount of opposition testimony provided. The committee held a second hearing on Senate Bill 112, which would require school buildings to comply with national life safety standards, and names this act the Ohio Childhood Safety Act. Let's see here. House Ways and Means Committee, they've been busy until they're on vacation. The committee held a third hearing on House Bill 274, which would authorize an enhanced property tax homestead exemption of $50,000 for long-term homeowners who meet certain eligibility requirements. The committee held sponsor testimony on House Bill 344, which would eliminate replacement property tax levies and would make changes to the laws regarding property tax valuation complaints, counter complaints, and appeals. The Senate Ways and Means Committee, the committee held sponsor testimony on which would require payment of property taxes and assessments when a lot is split or transferred, and generally prohibit tax delinquent property owners from purchasing tax foreclosed property. State Board of Education voted to appoint Paul Kraft, Superintendent of Buckeye Valley Local, as the next state superintendent of public instruction. Kraft will begin his new post on January 1st of 2024. New bills that are introduced, House Bill 361 would expand eligibility for a 40-hour teaching permit, and Senate Bill 205, which would require the Department of Education and Workforce and the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services to develop a list of evidence-based curricula, materials and instruction in the harmful effects of and legal restrictions against drug use, abuse, alcoholic beverages, marijuana, and tobacco in schools.
That's it.
As we wrap up our meeting, we have two outgoing board members that I'd like to recognize. I'd like to start with Mr. Comerford. Brad, thank you for your outstanding leadership and dedication to Sycamore Schools. When I think about your 4 years, your 4-year term, I don't know in the history of Sycamore Schools that there was a harder 4 years for the board. Upon election, we jumped right into master facility planning to really map out what this district would look like for the next 50+ years. And, you know, you can hold your head high because today we have basically 4 new buildings, 2 brand new buildings and 2 remodeled buildings that are going to really make a lasting impact to our community for many years. And then we got into COVID, and it was with your leadership and your steadfast belief of having opportunities for every student and every family that we were able to offer something very unique in our district, which is we gave families a choice. And that was a difficult decision for the district because it was a significant financial impact, but it was definitely the right decision. And I think I know our community would agree. You've selfishly given of your time and energy to this district for the last 4 years to really make our district better. And I thank you for that. Your financial guidance, your level-headed thinking and analyzing situations and your thoughtful approaches will definitely be missed. I know you and Tammy will continue to be advocates for our district. I know you will continue to be at sporting events, theater events, and everything else cheering on our wonderful students that we have. So again, I thank you very much for your 4 years. And I look forward to you continuing to be involved with the district and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I just, very briefly, I just, want to thank the community for this opportunity to serve this district. I have really appreciated the last 4 years, and I have, I really want to say thank you. This is a terrific leadership team. This is a terrific district, and it's just been my honor and privilege to serve. Thank you.
You had some?
I did. So Mr. Lewis is homesick, but he wanted me to read something on his behalf. And essentially it comes from the entire leadership team. So Brad, you served 4 years on the board, leading us through some of the toughest times in Sycamore, as Paul alluded to, including all the COVID decision-making. You've served in a variety of roles: Sycamore Advisory Commission, the audit liaison, policy liaison, and the development of a foundation. You have such a unique skill of taking in opposing views and finding a path for everyone to come together, often finding consensus in that. That is definitely a gift, and that will be missed. You have such a strong business background and the financial acumen. We appreciate the focus you have on providing for students while also being fiscally responsible as a district. You do a very good job of balancing those things. One of the many things that I think you're going to be remembered for is that you always ask the question of the administrators, of the teachers, what do you need from us? How can we support you? And you follow through with those pieces. And so that is something that is appreciated by our team more than you know. It shows us that you are behind us and that you believe in us and that you're willing to do what it takes to do the best thing for kids. And so we appreciate that more than you know. You've always challenged us to be better and to find ways to support all students and staff. I've shared with you before, I think you walk the line so well of holding us accountable, as you should, but also providing us with the support so that we might be able to keep moving that work forward. And we are just so incredibly thankful for everything that you've brought to this district and to this team.
Thank you, Kelly. Very humbling.
And then there's Mrs. White. Melissa, again, thank you on behalf of the board, the administration, the community, and myself. I've had the honor of serving 8 years with you. filled with a lot of challenging and tough moments, but a lot of very positive memories as well. When I sat down to really think about our 8 years together, a couple of things that really stood out was, you're never waiving commitment to our students and our staff, always challenging the status quo and asking how we can do better. And really the impact that I will remember you the most for is challenging how we can allow additional opportunities for all kids to thrive, all kids to grow. So when I started thinking about the 8 years, these are the things that came to my mind. Right off the bat, when we came onto the board, we were really looking at how can we expand the gifted education model to allow access to serve more students. And today we've done that. There are significantly more students having opportunities in gifted education because of the work of the board and your leadership. You and I were newbies on the board, and we were thrown into, I don't know if it was a voluntold or a volunteer, but we were on the initial architectural design meetings to choose partners for our architectural firm back when all of our construction was just a dream. And here it is today. It's not a dream, it's reality, and we have amazing schools. And like I said to Brad, the impact of these buildings are going to affect our community for 50 plus years. Overwhelmingly passing both our operating levy in 2016 as well as our master facility planning in 2019. The support of the community was outstanding. However, the work that you did in the background to help support the leadership team, to help support the committees, definitely was a lot of work. Holding us to our financial obligations to our community. We as a board set financial financial parameters, and you were always part of the team that held to make sure that we were living up to our commitment to the community, which is very important from a trust standpoint in our community. This is a big one. Your steadfast leadership as president during COVID. It was an extremely difficult 1.5 to 2 years. And for our community, I don't think they have any idea of the time and energy and the many emails that you had to answer during the 1.5 or 2 years of COVID, and the time that you spent working with our district leadership to develop the plan that I talked about with Brad and implement it, which was just a phenomenal opportunity for our students and our families. And being president during those times, there were difficult meetings. There were a lot of strong opinions in the community, and your leadership kept us grounded and kept the meetings running, moving forward and controlled. So thank you for that. It was very difficult. You and I sat down with Mr. Seeger back when his dream was just a dream on a napkin that he sketched out and said to Melissa and I want to build a pool. And we thought, okay, and here we are April next year, we're going to have a pool thanks to the very generous donation of the Seeger family. Searching for and hiring both a superintendent and treasurer, which is a lot of work. But you were steadfast on the decision-making process and what it took to hire a new superintendent and treasurer. Helping to refocus our educational opportunities for all students coming out of COVID. And we can sit back and look at the amazing accomplishment of the last 2 years being a 5-star district. And that is the work of an entire team, which includes our wonderful teachers as well, but definitely the leadership of the board that you were part of. So thank you. Your support of our district leadership team, but it goes more than that, not just unwavering support, also challenging our district leadership team when it was appropriate, asking those tough questions, and making sure that they had the right answers. The thoughtful notes that you always send out to staff following meetings. If staff members make a presentation, Melissa is always sending emails, making notes to herself to send emails to make sure that the staff knows that the presentations were appreciated by the board. So thank you. And your unwavering focus on putting students first in all. That was never a doubt in anybody's mind that you were always focused first on students. And then last but not least, your scones. Our morning meetings, Melissa frequently baked for us, and will not forget the amazing scones that you made for us. So I wanted to thank you from a leadership perspective on behalf of the district and the community. Thank you for your hard work, your dedication, your energy, your passion, and your excitement over the last 8 years to really make the district a better place. And you can rest assured that you did. Your impact will be felt for many years to come. And And I greatly appreciate it both as a friend, but as a board member and a community member as well. So thank you.
So Chad also has just a few things. Scones may or may not also come up again. Kind of a legacy. But again, Chad wanted, if he was here, he would have shared this. I'm sharing it on his behalf, but again, this encapsulates what from the whole team. So a lot of what Paul said, 8 years on the board, 2 years as a board president, 2020, 2021, leading our team during really one of the most difficult times in not only district history, but I think in educational history through the pandemic. The most difficult meetings and decisions that had to be made. You always remained focused on what was best for students and making sure that all students were at the center of those decisions, what Mr. Ballant said. You challenged us to make sure that we were opening up more opportunities for all students. Finding ways to challenge students academically, removing some of those barriers that might be in the way of that happening. And making us, really focus on the child and what is best for the student. You led the implementation of our strategic plan, providing us with clarity, focusing on the mission and vision. You served as a student achievement liaison, spending time in classrooms and seeing teachers and students in action, which is the reason that we're all here. That's the magic that happens every day in the classroom. That's what it's all about. You kept us smiling and fed, #scones. Yes, often Mrs. Weiss would drop off treats for us on a random basis as well. Bringing snacks to the district leadership team, especially if she knew that there was like an especially difficult time or something that we were going through. So that consideration of us meant a lot. And then this last line, Mrs. Weiss understands the importance of building strong leadership culture and found ways to show the administrative team how much she supports them during her tenure on the board. And so again, thank you so much for what you've done for this community, for the students, for the staff, for us, and we're just very appreciative.
Oh, thanks. I didn't prepare anything because I didn't want you guys to do that. I told Chad, so when I see when he's better, I will reprimand him. Thank you very much for your kind words. It has really been my pleasure and privilege to serve this community. And I'm glad that it came through that, the thing always at the focus was students. And we always, as a board, we always make those decisions. What is best for students? Secondarily, what is best for staff, but we always have students in mind. It has really been a pleasure to serve with every board member that I have served with. I have learned from every single one of you, and this team that sits around this table now. It took a long time to get this team together. I am so impressed. I've learned from every single one of you sitting around this table. Bringing your own unique perspective, but your expertise and knowledge to the job and your deep commitment to our students. So I thank you, and I look forward to see what happens with Sycamore in the next few years. I know you guys will continue to soar, and I'm just so proud to have been a very small part of that. So thank you so much.
And with that, on behalf of the board, as Mr. Lewis did, we wish our families and our community happy holidays. Thank you for the holidays. We look forward to all of our students coming back on January the 8th. We will adjourn.